This time we reveal the massive challenges behind creating a modern city.
We've got one shot to get this right. The second time is going to cost you big money.
From a radical space-saving skyscraper taking shape in the heart of London,
if we were to drop anything from up here, serious implications down on the ground,
to the window cleaners risking their lives to keep Las Vegas shining.
I don't make it, tell my children I love them.
And the team behind creating visionary city architecture. Half the world's population live in urban areas, and the number is rising every second. Each day is a race against time to house, feed, water and move more than 3.5 billion people. It's an impossible daily challenge. The slightest glitch can bring a city to its knees. And every 24 hours, it has to be done all over again. This is the story of how cities work. The world's cities are growing at a faster rate than ever before. An estimated 75 million people around the world move to an urban area every year. As our metropolises become more and more crowded, architects, designers and builders face a constant challenge. How to create new and modern spaces in cities where every square centimetre has already been developed. One solution has proved popular worldwide. Since the year 2000, over 4,000 skyscrapers have been built around the world. Today in central London, one of the city's most revolutionary skyscrapers is entering the final stages of construction. This is 20 Fenchurch Street, a 64,000 square metre commercial office building nicknamed the walkie-talkie because of its unusual flared shape. But what makes this building so distinctive is also what makes it almost impossible to build. As Director of Construction, Cormac McCrann knows all too well.
Generally, our buildings go straight up, they're square or rectangle. So when you see a building like this, you say, oh my God. And that was our challenge. How we were going to build this building that went in a counterintuitive way to every other building in the city.
The dramatic curving sides of this skyscraper are not just for show. They have been designed to solve a crucial urban problem: overcrowding.
The architect had a great idea. He said, normally skyscrapers go straight up or they taper in as you get up. Let's do it the other way. Let's invert it.
The building is unique in that it has a smaller footprint at the bottom. The smallest one is level 3, which is 1,900 square meters. And it increases as you go up to level 34, which is 3,300 square meters.
By increasing the size of each floor as the building rises, the walkie-talkie can provide 40% more floor space than a more conventional skyscraper of the same height.
We can get a density, an occupational density in this building of something like 8 people per square metre, compared to, in the old days, it would be 1 per 12 square metres.
OK, well, if you could start hoisting up for me, please, Paul. Hope you come, mate.
Today, Cormac's team must install part of the walkie-talkie's roof, called a hockey stick, before the arrival in 3 hours of a main arched roof beam.
We have the fins coming, actual roof pieces coming in tonight, so we have to get these in, ready. Keeper coming up for me, mate.
Hockey sticks are the vertical columns that will support each of the 34 arched roof beams.
If you went into an aircraft hangar, for instance, you'd see something like this. The challenge is aircraft hangars are built on the ground. We're building this 160 metres up in the air. We've never done that before. It's never been done before.
Keep heading back for me, Paul, and down in one as you're jibbing back for me, mate. When we first started on the job, it was pretty much straightforward job coming up, but as soon as you get to the roof, it's just different, altogether different way of thinking.
We're just about to land on the hockey sticks that make up the sides of the roof. I actually enjoy the height. But one of the best views in London. There's only a few buildings taller than this.
Go on, mate, fire it down.
Yeah, keep it coming, Paul, she's coming in, look.
Keep it coming forward.
You on the bolt, Daz?
Not yet.
No.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Down at inspo. All right, mate.
Right, that's us in. Yeah, that's us.
With the hockey stick in place, the crew are ready for the main event.
Yeah, we'll just check all our lifting gear ready, have everything ready on the crane so when the wagon turns up and rock and roll.
As night begins to fall on London, the first of 3 arched steel roof beams arrives at 20 Fenchurch Street. Into the capable hands of project manager Dean Eves and his team.
Previously we installed the hockey sticks, which are the vertical elements. These 3 roof members will then connect to that to form the complete structure of the roof arch.
The fin beams each weigh a massive 10 tons and must be lifted onto the roof right over one of the busiest areas in London. The only option to get the beams up safely is to close off a large section of Fenchurch Street to the public.
The sections are too long to offload from any of our other delivery routes, so we need Fenchurch Street closed to be able to lift them straight up to the roof.
But closing one of the busiest streets in London is only possible at night, and for a short window of time.
To rig and lift each piece will take approximately 45 minutes to an hour. We need to be done by 4 a.m.
The team must work as quickly as possible to beat the ticking clock.
It's offset that way, isn't it? So this, and we'll get it all up, get it open again as quickly as possible.
180 metres up at the top of the building, crane driver Ray Hamilton is responsible for making sure the heavy beams reach the roof safely.
You're approximately 600 feet above London at the moment. So really, the main variant we've got to worry about is the wind, because if the wind picks up and catches you, it begins to spin and rotate, and you've got no control over it.
And right now, the wind speeds are looking high.
Got the wind sitting about 19 mile an hour at the moment, Paul.
I'm looking at it now, mate, 80.7.
We're a bit concerned that the wind is up at the moment. Really, we're looking at 15 miles an hour and under to lift them up.
It's a lap of the gods. You get all the computers that tells you the forecast and various different things, but you'll never know until you're there at that precise time what it's going to be like.
Down on the ground, the guys are rigging up the beam to the crane.
Just attaching the lifting brackets to the piece.
But there is still no final word on whether it is safe to carry out the lift.
15 miles an hour at the minute, it's up and down.
Yeah, that's so you're getting the gust with it, aren't you? He's only getting 15 mile an hour winds, but it's gusting up to 20, 25 mile an hour.
That's it, jumped up to 22 there, do you see it?
The size of these pieces that we're lifting, they effectively would act like a sail if they're caught by the wind.
If they can't do the lift tonight, the beams will have to be sent back to the warehouse, delaying the entire construction schedule.
We'll get it too far out, yeah? Test it. If it's shit, we bring it back down.
Bring it down, right.
The crew decide to do a test lift to see how the beam reacts in the wind.
We're going to do a test lift now. If it gets too windy, we'll bring it back down.
Watch your backs now, we'll start taking it up.
Oh, we're going to go for it, yeah? Yeah, come on.
Nice and steady, yeah? Nice and steady.
Yeah, still down. I'm off.
Keep it coming for it, right? Keep it down there. I think it goes about 40 metres on there.
It takes about 4.5 minutes for the piece to actually get up here. So in that 4.5 minutes, the wind can change like that.
But as the first roof fin inches its way up the building, the crew struggle to keep the giant beam under control.
I'm going to lose my rope, Dad.
I don't care, no worries, mate.
If the wind is too strong, crane driver Ray may have to abort the lift. At about the halfway point, the beam is caught by the wind and begins to turn.
Just the wind, even a slight breeze, with it being as long as it is, if it catches it, it will just twist in the wind.
In the crane, Ray has to make the decision to continue the lift or bring the piece back down.
Well, it can be easier actually to take it up and over the top of the roof than it is to get it back down, because you've got the other buildings there, so that the spin could actually hit them. So you just need to kind of cross your fingers and just go for it, you know.
At the top of the building, Colin Brooks and his team are waiting for the beam to arrive.
Yeah, she's sitting there now, Ray. She's sitting around the right way for us. We've got one of the taglines there now, Ray.
Because of the higher winds, the guys must use all their strength to steady the beam with guide ropes.
The wind can start turning the loads round, and if that happens, it's all sort of hands on deck.
That's lovely on the head there, Ray. just come into our hands there, mate. Keep it coming on down for me, mate. Keep it coming, buddy. Keep it coming, Ray. Keep it coming, mate. Keep it coming. Lovely job, Ray.
Okay, down we come. We've de-rigged and sent the tackle back down, and hopefully we'll get another one up very shortly.
Up in two, Ray.
As Ray sends the crane hook down to pick up the second part of the roof beam, the wind begins to die down.
It was blowing 20-odd mile an hour, and it died down at the last there to just under 15.
Happy, mate? Ready when you are.
Taking advantage of the calmer weather, the crew bring the next 2 beams up in quick succession.
Down a little touch more, mate. Keep it coming. Keep it coming on down for me. Beautiful, Ray. That's us all done for the night now. Just a wrap up last bit of gear, then make sure the crane driver's down safely with us, and we're all going to jump in the lift and go home.
Tomorrow, installation of this roof beam will begin.
We've got 6 of these roof fins up at a minute. We've got 34 to do altogether, so another 28, so still a fair way to go just yet.
One of London's most revolutionary skyscrapers takes another step towards completion. Each new skyscraper in a city seeks to make a statement in the skyline. But as these round, tapered and sloping shapes become ever more complex, they have created a new urban challenge. Keeping these multi-million-pound constructions clean. And nowhere is this more evident than Las Vegas, where each new construction is as much art as architecture. Sam Shannon, Rick Dillman and their crew of window cleaners take on jobs that others deem too dangerous or too difficult to even attempt.
That is freaking big.
What do you think?
I think it's a whole hell of a lot of glass.
We like challenging jobs. I mean, we kind of take pride in the fact that we can work areas where other people can't get to. The harder it is, the happier we are.
These are the Panorama Towers, 2 luxury apartment buildings built just over a kilometer from Las Vegas's famous Strip. The tower's distinctive architectural trait is a curved inset balcony 95 meters in the air. 2 window cleaning companies have attempted to clean these 14-meter tall insets, but both have failed.
We've got all these ledges in between each story. We have to watch out for our edge protection.
Normal methods for cleaning high-rises, such as a steel cradle, wouldn't work on Panorama Towers. The inset balconies are too awkwardly shaped. So Sam and his team must get inventive.
We're going to have to use our rigging expertise to figure out something that will allow us to get there.
Seems like we're going to have to rappel down right in the middle of the balcony.
Sam and Rick decide to abseil down the side of the building, attached to just 2 ropes.
There's kind of 3 types of people. There's people who won't do it, and the people who will do it if they have to, and the people who want to do it. And we were looking for the 3rd guys.
Let's do it. Time to work.
Woo!
This is it.
Woo!
128 meters up on the roof, they start to assemble their gear.
Let's get to it.
They have just 1 month to clean 4,800 windows.
It's a decent-sized job. We need to try to average about 305, 310 windows a day.
To lower themselves over the side of the building, the team will use industrial-strength ropes tied to metal anchors that can hold over 4 tons.
All right.
But the angular design of this skyscraper presents a life-threatening hazard for the crew. The building's sharp edges could sever their ropes.
This is basically a standard rope protector. Because these edges are so sharp, it cuts through even this. If this fails, now my ropes are exposed to danger. My ropes are in danger of cutting.
To prevent disaster, the team have come up with a new invention.
What we've come up with, what's going to be better, is just a basic rough prototype right now, is a rigid piece of PVC pipe, and the ropes go inside of it.
Their lives rest on how well these new rope protectors work.
That'll work.
Ready? We ready to do this? Bam. Let's do this, guys. Oh, and that's what 400 feet or 125 meters looks like. I don't make it, tell my children I love them.
It gets me every time. It gives you the butterflies in the stomach, the adrenaline rush. You know, but that's what keeps me going.
We are working. We're working. And we go, you guys. Let's go.
Sam, Eugene, and Martin start making their way around the curve of the building towards the inset balcony.
So the further you go up, the more windy it is. There's a possibility that it could suck you away from the building and throw you out in free space.
Yes!
Sam's abseil ropes can only get him so far. To get into the curved inset balcony, he must use suction cups that allow him to stay close to the glass.
I'm getting some suction cups on here so that I can try to relax.
That is when they work.
Woo! Suction cup doesn't always suck. My heart rate maybe jumped a beat a couple of times. It pops, I poop my pants, I get back to work.
Sam finally makes it safely into the inset. Now he can do the job he came here to do.
All right.
Despite the thousands of dollars worth of equipment and the daredevil heights, to actually clean the windows, the guys rely on old favorites, a bucket and sponge.
Just what you need to clean a window, a bunch of rags and a squeegee and some soapy water. Oh yeah, we like that. $1 million penthouse with $1 million view. What a concept. And the windows are clean for the first time in 7 years. There's only 3,772 windows to go.
With over 1,300 skyscrapers currently rising skywards around the world, and each striving to be more dramatic than the last, Sam and his crew are unlikely to be out of a job anytime soon. But an urban centre isn't just defined by the buildings that we live and work in. Just as important are the structures in which we can relax and enjoy ourselves. Every year at the Serpentine Gallery in London, an architect is tasked with creating a pavilion, a structure entirely for public use.
Usually it's a cafe area that they can use for different bit of conference or lecture performance.
This year, Sue Fujimoto has sought to redefine how architecture interacts with the city. His pavilion is made entirely of empty white steel cubes, arranged in an intricate formation.
It's the basic inspiration starting point was these beautiful surroundings of the Kensington Garden, something between nature and architecture. So I try to create something transparent or translucent, like a really thin cloud.
And up here and in here, when are we grinding those off?
Project manager Ted Featonby and his team must have the entire structure installed and ready for a grand opening in just 6 weeks. A mammoth task.
It's got to be ready for the 4th of June, so sometimes we might have to work overnight. There's just not an option not to be ready. And that's the biggest challenge you've got here. You haven't got an overrun time.
If we consider that this structure has around 27,000 pieces of steel, 3,500 welded nodes, it's a lot of work that needs to be done in quite a short space of time.
Building this structure is a mammoth undertaking. It all happened here at Stage 1, a steel fabrication company in York, England. Andy Hickton was the man tasked with turning Sue Fujimoto's vision into reality.
We are well known throughout the industry as doing really very strange and complex devices. It's a skill that you learn over a number of years.
Welding bars together into cubed frames sounds easy in theory, but the complexity of the design was not always easy to follow.
You can get a little bit confused. You're thinking, well, which part of the 6-deep frame am I working on here? I'm putting together. I'm not sure that's right. And also the orientation, of course, you don't want to end up with 2 layers of the frame one way. The 3rd layer, oh dear, it's not quite right.
This wasn't the only problem. Completing a structure of this size and scale pushed the team to bursting point.
So many hours working on it, you get engrossed with it, you lose a track of time, and you just keep going. It's a very challenging job in that sense. It looks simple, and some ways it is, but other ways it has its unique challenges which basically drives you mad.
Despite the challenges involved, the team successfully completed the structure in time for its journey to London.
The 54 pieces get delivered on the back of 40-foot Arctics, and each piece is craned off.
Coming up slow.
Every one is a bespoke shape. There's no two pieces the same on the whole structure. So each has its little challenge.
Stop, down on the line.
Today, it's time to fit one of the last pieces to make up the transparent roof of the pavilion. It is key to its structural integrity.
In a similar fashion to, say, an arch where you have a keystone that drops into the top of the arch, the final few pieces of the pavilion roof make the structure stable.
Up slow, please, Kev.
But the long, thin form of this piece is causing problems for the crew.
It's flexing everywhere. Now stop, come back down, Kev. The shape of this piece is it's quite long and flexible and awkward to lift, and we don't want to bend or snap any of the bars. Drop that one right down, further back.
Just got to stiffen it up with a bit of timber strapped on, just to make sure it doesn't bend and buckle the unit. It's the first time we've worked with something like this. You're never in your comfort zone.
Yeah, keep going slow, Kev. Okay, Kev, take it up.
The piece is finally in the air, but this is far from over. Because of the structural weakness, the crane driver must get it into position on the pavilion as quickly and delicately as possible.
It's a bit like Meccano said. Everything fits together, and it's just like a massive jigsaw puzzle.
But Ted and his team are finding out that constructing a piece of art is not always as straightforward as building 4 walls and a roof. This piece of the puzzle doesn't fit.
That looks it, that's where it should be. We've got extra pins. See that bit there, where the board is? Yeah. That's these two, isn't it?
This steel cloud is proving to be a challenging mind game for the team.
Under normal circumstances, in normal construction, you'd pick a piece up and the orientation is quite obvious to which way it goes. But with this, everything's the same, it's so complex.
They soon work out their problem.
Is there a single knot sticking out there? Here, isn't there? So it's nearly the right way around, isn't it? Right, up slow, Kev.
The piece is the wrong way round.
And stop, and slow right slowly. And down slow.
Every little setback has consequences for the tight schedule.
There's always, you know, a date where a show happens or an event begins, or, you know, it's part and parcel of what we do, really. That's endurance carpentry.
Over the next weeks, the team work all hours to deliver the pavilion on time. And finally, on a beautiful June day, Sue Fujimoto's creation is unveiled.
It's amazing because I was so surprised this morning to see the finished pavilion. It's beyond my imaginations.
This is a playful piece of architecture in that people can come and explore it, enjoy it, and take what they want from it.
I really like this atmosphere where people can freely behave as they like.
People do travel from all over the world just to come and visit the pavilion because there's that much of a standard in the architectural world.
Sue Fujimoto's pavilion is all about architectural freedom. But not every city in the world can build whatever they like. When your city is under threat from one of the most devastating natural disasters in the world, construction becomes a whole different ballgame. This is Rincon Tower, a new high-rise apartment complex in downtown San Francisco. Construction manager Dave Thompson has just 26 months to build this 50-story tower, in one of the world's most dangerous earthquake zones.
The building is concrete construction. It'll be 550 feet tall, 53 levels. There will be 299 apartments.
San Francisco lies just 16 kilometers from one of the biggest earthquake faults in the world. When the last big one hit in 1906, it destroyed over 28,000 buildings in the city. So today, Dave and his team face a dual challenge: bringing the project in on time and on budget, while at the same time preventing a 1906-style disaster.
California and San Francisco have building codes and seismic codes. All the buildings in San Francisco that are new, that are being built, all are designed to meet those codes and criteria.
Earthquake protection is built into every stage of construction at Rincon Hill. And leading the race into the sky is the concrete core, the central backbone of the building, and Rincon Hill's main line of defense against a quake.
The concrete core is the epicenter of the structure. All the structural stability originates from there. All the different moment that gets applied to the building from seismic events all ends up in the core and gets distributed into the foundation from the core.
To provide maximum stability, Rincon's core is packed with over 1,500 tons of steel reinforcing bar and poured with high-strength concrete. 5 stories below the core, the concrete floors or decks of the building are constructed. But staying on schedule while constructing this structure is a daily challenge. And it all comes down to efficiency.
Right here on this site, we're doing a 3-day cycle with our concrete structure. And that's pretty unusual.
Okay, coming up. Every time we come up a floor, they also come up and build the floor below us, and we're just following each other.
Because the core will act as the main structural support during an earthquake, the decks are tightly locked into it with concrete-encased reinforcing steel. The task of pouring a staggering 762 tons of concrete every 3 days falls to Alan Olson, Senior Superintendent.
What we're doing right now is we're placing the concrete. The concrete is getting dumped into the pump at the ground level. It's getting pumped up 28 stories as we speak. You can see it hitting the deck right now.
Each floor pour is a race against the clock. From the time the trucks leave the plant 8 kilometers away, the team has only 90 minutes before the concrete sets and dries.
We've got one shot to get this right, one time. There's no second chances when you're pouring a concrete deck. The second time is going to cost you big money.
But as concrete floods the deck, Dan Murphy, an electrical foreman, spots a faulty connection right in the path of the concrete workers.
The electrical foreman just noticed that one of his conduits came disconnected from the junction box there, so he's reconnecting it.
It must be fixed, but if it takes too long, it could put the entire floor pour at risk.
Once the concrete starts flowing, I don't want to stop it until we're completely done.
The worst case scenario is that the concrete becomes too hard to pour, getting stuck in the pipes that pump it up the building.
It takes a lot of pressure. It's coming up 28 stories high. It'll blow the whole system out, and it can be very dangerous. Just like shrapnel flying everywhere.
You don't want to hold the concrete pour up, so you want to get in. If you identify that there's problems, get in, fix it quickly, so that it can continue pouring concrete.
It's just when you see this many guys, you know, standing around waiting for you to fix something as simple as a broken pipe. Sorry, guys. You got a lot of guys waiting on you, so.
In the nick of time, electrician Dan manages to fix the problem.
Yeah, just cut out the broke part, glue a new piece in. That's why they pay me the big bucks, man.
And the cables are buried forever under the concrete. The last stage of Rincon's construction is the installation of the building's windows, called the curtain wall or skin. Mark Herrera is the superintendent in charge of the operation.
The panel's pulled out from that mobile crane that's up above, then drop down to the floor that they're working with in its fixed position.
To survive an earthquake, a building needs 2 conflicting attributes: enough strength to stay standing but enough flexibility to move with the vibrations of the earth.
In San Francisco, given our history with earthquakes, the seismic activity we have in this region, it's very important that the system have a certain amount of flexibility to allow for that building to move.
An earthquake would shatter conventional windows. So instead of being secured tightly, each curtain wall panel is hung from an individual hook and can move up to 2.5 centimeters to the left, right, up and down without being damaged.
The panels will allow for some shifting in the event of an earthquake.
By combining efficient construction techniques with state-of-the-art design, Dave and his team are staying way ahead of the curve.
It's a phenomenal feat. It's going off like clockwork here. It takes a whole team to be able to get a structure going at this pace, and this team is doing a great job.
In our world's biggest cities, nothing stands still for long. And as new buildings rise, old ones fall, creating a constant cycle of change. In a city as old and as crowded as London, demolition is often the crucial first stage of any new construction project.
All cities, especially London, are limited for space. So to get something new in, more often than not, you have to demolish something.
In the last 5 years, over 200 older buildings have been demolished to make way for new development in London's vibrant East End. Today, Dave Strelecki and his team will add this 1960s office block to the list. But demolishing a 5-story building in central London in just 5 weeks is far from straightforward.
That'll do for now.
Within 150 metres of the building is a school, a busy road and hundreds of residential homes.
If you're out in an open field, it would be straightforward. The challenge of demolition in the city is you've got a lot of people in very close proximity to what you're doing.
With explosives out of the question, this demolition comes down to the power of man and his small machines.
The machines are 2.5 ton machines. They got breakers on the front, which they munch the concrete, so they're ideal for the job, for this job.
The building will be deconstructed floor by floor from the roof down. So the first problem is how to get 5 tons of machine 20 metres up in the air. That's a job for Dan Watts and his 48-ton crane. With hundreds of passers-by only a few metres away and a school playground next door, this lift is fraught with danger.
Worst case scenario is I could have the machine halfway up in the air, up there. The ground could give way and this will go straight through the building.
And up slowly on your chins, up on your chins.
Dan's job becomes more complex as soon as the digger is lifted off the ground.
Keep going, keep going.
He relies on a banksman, a radio operator who is closer to the action to tell him to move left, right, up or down.
And as soon as I can't see the machine, the person who's directing me, the banksman, I'm in his hands.
Screw to your left a little bit. Screw to your left.
I'm like a puppet. I can't guess, I can't assume, because that's how accidents happen.
Turn to your left, please. Hold it there, and keep out, please. Keep going.
After a tense few minutes, the digger finally lands on the roof.
And down on the chains, please, down on the chains.
No matter how many times you've done it, once the machine or anything like that is over there, there is still a sense of relief when it's down and it's all done.
But the rest of the gang's work is only just beginning. Deconstructing a building piece by piece involves almost as much work as putting one up. Steve needs to know exactly what holds this structure together or risk his team's safety.
The problems are, because we're doing this particular building floor by floor, we have to get an assessment on the floors, i.e. the concrete depths, what reinforcing's in them. If we don't do the assessment of the floors, that roof could collapse.
Steel props support each floor below the demolition work, improving the stability of the building.
We can't blast it, literally, because we're in a very tight situation here with residents and everything. It's not done in a day, but a building of this size, 2 to 3 weeks, and we can put it on the ground.
A week into demolition, and Dave Strelecki and his team are making good progress.
So we're now in the process of taking down the walls on this floor, the 4th floor, before we break through the slab again and drop down onto the floor below.
These specialised diggers have their limits. Because the city is right on their doorstep, the construction workers must carry out part of the demolition by hand.
You can't just go crashing about the place and have anything falling out onto the scaffold. So we have to use manual work as well to make sure that we control that.
Specially trained metal workers follow behind the excavators and dismantle the steel beams.
We cut the steelwork and ease it down using a technique called hinge cutting it. This brings it down in a very controlled manner, slowly, and it ensures it comes within the job. We're sat on the 4th floor. Another week's time will be another floor down. That's what we're hoping, a floor a week. So 4 weeks' time, we'll be at ground level, no building left, ready for the developer to come along and put something new in.
Amidst the mass of concrete and steel that make up a city, parks provide an essential green oasis for residents to relax and unwind. But as populations increase and space is limited, finding and creating new parkland is more and more challenging. New York is the densest urban area in the United States, and here local residents have come up with an innovative way to maximize green space.
We're standing on the High Line. The High Line is an old elevated railroad that we turned into a park. This was the industrial part of New York, and so it was a freight train that serviced all the factories and warehouses in this part of Manhattan.
But as lorries took over the transportation of goods in the 60s and 70s, the line was eventually abandoned. It wasn't until the 1990s that Robert decided to work to save the line from demolition.
When I first came up here, that's when I really fell in love, because it was this rusty old relic. And there was 1.5 miles of wildflowers running right through the middle of the city. It just felt like this forgotten piece of New York.
He saw a unique opportunity to construct a new type of park.
Green space is critical in a city like New York. You know, we just have so much hardscape, so many people. There's no more unused space in Manhattan to create parks. So you have to be creative. You have to look at spaces that had other uses.
The space was redesigned to connect the city to nature and to its past, making the old railway line one of the centerpieces of the design.
We wanted to put the tracks back because we wanted to remind people what this was. This was a working railroad. And I think, you know, I see kids all the time sort of standing on the tracks, and I think they're just imagining, you know, a train running right through their neighborhood. The planting was designed to recreate that kind of wild landscape that was originally growing up here.
This unique green space has transformed this residential area.
The High Line is a place where people want to live near, work near, shop near. Last year we had over 4 million visitors. So it's really become, you know, not just a tourist attraction, but it's also a real place for New Yorkers.
The High Line's success in New York has inspired a whole new approach to park architecture.
Now people from all over the world are using it as a model for how to reclaim old industrial spaces. It's about keeping some of that history and some of that past while creating new, you know, open spaces.
As our cities expand upwards and outwards to accommodate population growth, some people are finding their perfect spaces, not on the ground, but under it. 30 meters under the city of Stockholm, a Cold War nuclear bunker has been transformed into a modern-day Bond villain's lair. Deep underneath the city of Stockholm, a very modern safe house has been constructed.
But you can trust this space, you know it's very safe, you know nobody can come in.
An underground cavern protecting something so important it can withstand a hydrogen bomb.
We are about 30 meters below the ground, and it's granite, it's solid rock.
Designed to protect the most modern of 21st century assets, our internet data. In today's cities, computer data is almost as important as electrical power, making the world's 500 billion gigabytes of data worth more money than almost anything else on Earth.
In a modern city, everything that you do, it's so interconnected with the internet. It contains so much. It contains banking transaction, it contains communication, it contains basically everything.
But far from floating in an invisible cloud, this information is stored in specialized facilities all around the world.
This room has place for about 8,000 servers. Out of these servers, there are various businesses. There are small business, big business, banks, government installations. We provided a technical facility for the WikiLeaks during the operation of the cable gate. The core of the WikiLeaks business was located in this facility. One of these servers in this particular rack is WikiLeaks. From this box that all the stuff that was cabled out through the world was coming from.
If this data was suddenly lost, bank accounts could empty and a city's infrastructure systems could collapse, causing complete chaos. It is Jon Karlung's job to make sure that doesn't happen.
It's critical to uphold this system, to place it in a secure environment.
When Jon and his team stumbled upon a disused nuclear bunker right in the middle of the city, they knew they had found the right place to build a data safe house.
This facility was built in 1943 as a part of a crucial defense for Stockholm. In the Cold War, it was redesigned as a nuclear shelter.
But building in a bunker is no easy task, as architect Albert Franz Lenore found out.
It's a cave, it's rock, it's granite rock, so there is no straight line, there is no existing drawing.
Albert decided to stick with the bunker theme and design a modern version of a well-known underground space, a Bond villain's lair.
We realized very quickly with the client that we had the same passion for sci-fi movies, a lot of different old ones, Bond as well, of course.
To expand the original bunker, the team spent 2 years blasting through 4,000 cubic meters of solid granite.
You're not building something, you are deleting from it to create space. So it's totally the opposite of what architecture normally is.
Huge 40-centimeter thick steel doors provide the only entrance to the outside world. In the center's control room, workers are surrounded by hydroponically grown plants, lights that change according to the time of day, and smoking waterfalls.
I wanted the cave, the rock, to be dominant, but then the man comes inside this alien world with water, with light, with plants, and kind of start its own life inside this rock.
Despite these secure surroundings, there's one problem that could seriously damage the bunker's data: a power cut. Europe has seen a 20% jump in demand for power since 1990, leading to an increased number of electrical blackouts.
All the servers, the computers down there are dependent on electricity. If the power disappears, the hard drives on these computers will stop working, so you will have a malfunctioning of the live systems.
Losing power here is not an option. So the team have brought in these 2-ton specialized German submarine generators, programmed to take over minutes after a power cut.
One engine like this is enough to power about 50 to 100 normal houses.
Since it's hard to know when power may fail, Christian Torin and Thomas Johansson carry out monthly tests to keep the generators ready to react at a moment's notice.
We're going to make a test run just to be secure that they are working. They really must do it.
Our city's insatiable need for information is fueling a worldwide construction boom of data centers. And nuclear bunkers or military installations, safe houses from a different era, make the perfect home for one of our most valuable modern-day assets.
We don't really need these spaces anymore. It makes sense to reuse them somehow and use them for data.
The world's cities are a patchwork of the historical and modern, where new layers of civilization are built directly onto the old. In London, the city's 2,000-year history plays an important part in almost every new urban project. This is the Crossrail development, a brand new 118-kilometre train line, the biggest construction project in Europe.
We have a total of around 40 construction sites across the project. It's a big number, especially when you're spread out in all these different busy areas.
To build the first completely new underground train line in 30 years, the Crossrail team are excavating down over 40 meters to construct 4 brand new tunnels. And by digging so deep, this team is uncovering a unique window on the city's past.
So whenever we're excavating a big area on the site, we always make sure that the archaeologists are involved.
Jay Carver is the lead archaeologist working across the entire Crossrail project.
The depth of the deposit in London is up to 9 meters deep from the current ground surface. So a number of the sites that we're building on for Crossrail coincide with very important archaeological deposits.
This week, construction has stopped on a section of the Farringdon station site, so that archaeologists can investigate what appears to be the remnants of a building.
We're right in the middle of the Eastern Ticket Hall Crossrail construction site, and behind me, the Archaeological Contractor Museum of London Archaeology are excavating a fairly small area in this site.
Because the whole construction site cannot come to a standstill, building work continues all around the archaeologists, and the time to record the finds is limited.
We're only here a very short time. It's really finished by the end of the day.
It can be quite difficult, especially when you have the crane lifting machine over our head. It's a bit of a compromise to try and get the work done as quickly as possible and as well as possible.
All finds from the Crossrail sites are recorded and cleaned in a laboratory at the Museum of London. Nick Elsden is the project manager for the museum.
What we've got here is a selection of finds from the earlier work on this site.
The finds from the Crossrail project run the gamut of the centuries. From a Roman horseshoe...
You can see it's very different from a modern horseshoe. There's a solid iron plate underneath to protect the horse's hoof.
To a 16th century ice skate.
There's these wonderful stories of when it froze in the winter, Londoners would tie cattle bones to their feet and shoot along on poles. And you can see the flat on the bottom where it's been worn by contact with the ice.
The most personal finds are 2 leather shoes.
This one is obviously an adult shoe from the 16th century, and another that's so small it's almost certainly a child's shoe. These shoes would have been worn by people who certainly would have been walking around here and perhaps living in the area at that time.
By tying together the future and the past of large swathes of London, the Crossrail project is setting a new precedent.
I think London is a city that's always appreciated and looked after its heritage. Not only are we building a project for future generations, we're also exposed with the great opportunity of uncovering London's history.
Thousands of years of construction have created our greatest cities. And these crowded hubs of civilization continue to evolve. Old buildings fall as new towers rise. New transport links are created as architectural masterpieces are preserved. And behind it all is an army of architects, builders and engineers who work day and night to make it all happen. One thing is for sure, this myriad of buildings, parks, roads and train lines tell the story of our civilization, how we live, how we work, and who we are.